Hello, Mandela class. Welcome back to your maths videos. Thank you to those of you who shared what you struggled with in our live session this morning. Some of you had this in common, that you struggled a little bit with the extension questions. So we're going to go over them first before we move on to our lesson for today. The extension questions are for the lesson where you had to do your 4 times tables, where we're recapping the 4 times tables. So the first question is, create a word problem that requires you to use the 4 times table. So you have to think of a worded problem where the solution would be to write a multiplication number sentence to do with the 4 times table. One of you gave me a really good example, so I'm going to write this example down here to help you. So one of you said apples come in boxes of 5, which means that there are 5 apples in each box. How many apples would there be in 4 boxes? So this is a perfect example of a worded question that includes or requires the 4 times table for you to get the answer. So what number sentence would you write to solve this problem? Apples come in boxes of 5. So you can look at the boxes as groups. They come in groups of 5. So each group has 5 apples in them. How many apples would there be in 4 boxes? So how many equal groups do we need? So we could do 5, because there are 5 apples in each box, times 4, because we've got 4 equal groups. Or you could also write it the other way around, which you also mentioned in our live session. You could write it as 4 times 5, which would also equal the same amount. And we recapped why these two would be the same. Because in multiplication, when you swap the numbers around, you will get the same answer. This is called commutative. Commutative. Okay, for the second question, it says, Advika says, I know my 4 times table, so I can work out 4 times 90 without using a written method. How could Advika do this? How could the 4 times table help her calculate 4 times 90? Well, if you know the answer to 4 times 9, you would also know the answer to 4 times 90. Pause the video and have a think. How would this work? Okay, so if you know that 4 times 9 equals 36, how could you use this answer to help you with 4 times 90? Well, when we're multiplying multiples of 10, all you have to do is add an extra 0. So 4 times 90 would be the same answer as 4 times 9, but with an extra 0. So 360. So you would explain this, because the question says explain why Advika can do this. So Advika can do this because she can use the answer to 4 times 9 to help her with her answer to 4 times 90 by adding an extra 0 to the answer. So you would write that as an explanation. Right, let's move on to today's lesson. Today's learning objective is, can I solve problems related to the 8 times table using my knowledge of other known times tables? So a quick reminder, what does each number in this multiplication number sentence represent? Pause the video. What does this number represent? What does this number represent? And what does the answer represent? Play the video when you're ready. So the first number in a multiplication number sentence represents number of equal groups. And the second number represents the number of items in each group. And the answer represents the total. Okay, so using this to help you, can you pause the video and represent this either on your laminated piece of paper with your whiteboard pen or on a scrap piece of paper? Represent 2 times 8 pictorially and play the video once you've done that. Okay, so let's have a go at doing this together. So we know that the number 2 represents the number of equal groups. So I have 2 equal groups. I'm going to draw them. 2. And how many do we have in each group? Well, we have 8 because it represents the number of items in each group. So I'm going to draw my 8 items in each group. 2, 4, 6, 8. Why do you think I've organized my items in this group this way? Well, I just find it easier to count when they're organized in twos rather than them being scattered everywhere. And 8 in this group. 8. So now we can easily count in twos to find the answer and find the total. So count with me in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So 2 times 8 equals 16. Okay, pause the video and look at this slide. What do you notice about how 6 times 8 is being solved on this slide? Look at what they've done to the pictorial representation and look at what they've done to 6 times 8 to help them with their calculation. Play the video when you are ready. Okay, so if you looked really carefully, they've split 6 times 8 into 2 separate calculations. They've split it into 5 times 8 and they've split it into, well, we know in total we need 6 times 8. So if we've already got 5 times 8, what would this other one be? Well, here we have got one group of 8. So 1 times 8. So they've split 6 times 8 into 5 times 8 and 1 times 8 to help them calculate those separately, and then they're going to add the answers together. So pause the video and calculate or count how what 5 times 8 equals and what 1 times 8 equals. Write these multiplication number sentences down on your piece of paper with the answer. Don't worry, I don't need to see these on tapestry. This is just a practice. Okay, so if you know your 5 times table, you would know the answer to 5 times 8. But let's count in 5s all together to get the answer. So here we have got the section that represents 5 times 8. Okay, let's count in 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So 5 times 8 equals 40. And we know the other calculation is 1 times 8 because we needed in total 6 groups of 8. We found the answer to 5 groups of 8. We now need to find the answer to 1 group of 8. So 1 group of 8 equals 8. So in total, we now need to add the two answers together to find the answer to 6 times 8. So what's 40 plus 8? 48. Okay, pause the video now. Why do you think the calculation 6 times 8 has been split into 5 times 8 and 1 times 8? Why do you think it's being solved this way? Pause the video and either think out loud, tell somebody in your house, or just think in your head. Play the video when you have had a go. Okay, so they may have done this because they may be more comfortable or more confident with the 5 times table and the 1 times table. So they've split 6 times 8 into 2 times tables that they might find easier to calculate. So if you know your 5 times table, you would know the answer to 5 times 8, whereas you may not necessarily know the answer to 6 times 8. So they've split it into 2 multiplication number sentences from 2 times tables that they are more confident with. This method is called the distributive law. So, another thing that could also help you with your 8 times table, if your question is 1 times 8, for example, which other times tables could you use to help you find the answer if you are not confident with your 8 times table? Pause the video, have a think. We have discussed this before. So which other times tables could help you with your 8 times table? Well, how could you use the 2 times table to help you? So if you know the answer to 1 times 2, so you know that 1 times 2 equals 2, how could that help you with the answer to 1 times 8? Well, you could use the 2 times table by doubling the answer and then doubling the answer again, and that will give you the answer to the 8 times table. So you know that 1 times 2 equals 2. So if you double that answer, 2 doubled equals 4. And if you were to double 4, you would get 8. So you would get the answer to 1 times 8, which equals 8. So the 2 times table could help you if you double the answer and then double the answer again. Now, how could I use 1 times 4 or the 4 times table to help me? Well, if you know that 1 times 4 equals 4, how could you use this to help you get the answer to 1 times 8? Well, you know 1 times 4 equals 4. So you double that answer to get the answer to 1 times 8. So double 4 is 8. Okay, this is your independent task. So have a go at doing these independently on your piece of paper. For this third question, this is how it works. So you would multiply this side to this side and get the answer 6. So 3 times 2 equals 6. 3 times 4 equals, and write your answer there, 3 times 8 equals. Now, for these 2 blank boxes, you need to try and figure out 2 times what has given us the answer 10. So have a go at completing all your work and make sure you upload everything on Tapestry, and I look forward to seeing all of your work on there, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, Year 3.